Lots of little babies are coming up and blooming and doing all sorts of groovy fun things. Homesteading is simply becoming more self-reliant. Oh, here's some of my, I had to put this back up, but here are the lettuces. They seem to have thrived under all that rain. They've got good drainage though. And you are self-reliant, capable, groovy human being, wherever you are. Hi, I'm Liz, and this is my channel, Groovy Happy You. Come on. This is not as easy as it looks. Anyways, Groovy Happy You, where I talk about permaculture, homesteading, aging in place in a 55+ community, all the fun things in life. So this is the garden after the rain. Got a little bird over there that wants to see what's going on in the garden. Meow. Perhaps he's homesteading too. With my homestead. I suppose I'm in his homestead. Anyways, homesteading is simply just a way of being and becoming more self-sufficient, self-reliant, and resilient, capable of being a groovy human being wherever you are. Off-grid, on-grid, urbanite, 55 and older, mobile home community, whatever it looks like. I'm choosing community. I like this 55 and older plus community. We watch out for each other. At this point in my life, I think that's kind of important. I used to think that I was an introvert. Well, for a long time I thought I was an introvert. Turns out I'm just asshole resistant. I do not like being around assholes. And that's what made me think I was an introvert. There's just too many damn assholes. That's another story. We got over 2 inches of rain in the last week. It's showing up in the garden. It's setting water. Oh, so many projects to do now that it's rained. I imagine the plants are going to take off. My little lettuces sure have. Look at those babies. It looks like I'm going to be able to start harvesting some leaves for my salad. And some green onions. You know, I grew those out of scraps from previous green onions. That's kind of fun to do. I'm learning how to grow these tree collards. Permaculture. It can feel overwhelming and intimidating, that's for sure. Even with especially with the talk of swales and zones and polyculture and all of those things, and maybe this haphazard grouping doesn't exactly feel like permaculture, and maybe some professional permaculturists might not agree either, but it's a start. Those barriers were my barriers when I first started in on this adventure. Permaculture is more than just a way of gardening. It's more than a political statement, such as resistance, prepping, or whatever you want to call it. heard this one guy these are my volunteer tomatoes. Look how lovely they're coming up in a bucket of scraps. Yeah, so I put some of this god-awful soil and my food scraps into this bucket because at the time I didn't have a compost bin. Damned if the things didn't come up blooming, almost as good as Hawaii. The best and briefest explanation I ever heard of permaculture is came from a guy named Larry Wheeler on a podcast called Homesteading for Beginners. And succinctly put, permaculture is organized common sense. That's it. Thank you, Larry. Organized common sense. Organized common sense was a hell of a lot easier before patriarchy and capitalism. In fact, the founders of permaculture put this stuff together in the 1970s, Bill Mollison and David Holmgren. And some might call it cultural appropriation, and perhaps it's so, but that's not the argument I'm here to get into today. I don't want to toss out these simple tools and principles and ethics. They work. Somewhere in my past, my ancestors were an indigenous people too somewhere. Probably Europe and Ireland. Anyways, organized common sense. Wouldn't that have been easier to know about when I was raising my kids and then myself? And that's pretty much the order it went in. I raised myself as I raised my kidlets, who are now 30, so it's taken me a while. I guess I got a long ways to go too. Back to those cultures. They believed that it took a village to raise a child. They practiced that concept long before it was ever a book and a movement. It seems to have vanished out. It sure would have been a lot easier to have some support when I was raising the kiddos. Just me. Didn't know what I was doing. Did it the best I could. Did it wrong. It's pretty much the way I'm going to do permaculture and homesteading and aging, maybe not so gracefully. And pause it. Organized common sense. It's appealing. And even more appealing, though, are the ethics. I mean, I do miss ethics in this day and age in particular. They're just some basic fundamental things. Ethics, and the ethics of permaculture are earth care, people care, fair share, sometimes called future share. It's about forward thinking and being fair, not being greedy. There's a concept, right? Can you imagine living in a world with ethics? Just these three simple ethics. Earth care, which I think of as Mother Nature. People care, humanity caring for one another, and fair share. Fair share, what a concept. I know it still blows me away. What if you and I could start practicing just these three ethics? Don't have to do a whole permaculture garden with guilds and swales and polyculture and all the things. Just three simple little ethics. Can you imagine what our lives would be like changing? What that would look like in our communities if others started picking it up? How that could carry over into a different world, different possibilities. Anyway, something to think about. And until we meet again, stay groovy.